Welcome to Deep Thought, a single moment. Now, the other week I talked about how a single thought could impact millions. I'm going to touch on that subject again in a little bit in a different way. A single moment. I was checking out this movie on Amazon Prime, and I put a link to it in the description box. It was called Destined, and it starred this young actor, Corey Hardrick. And I forgot who. His wife is one of the Maori sisters. As I'm recording here, I can't think of which one. But the movie itself didn't get too much play. I remember when it first came out, it wasn't really showing at the theaters or something like that, but I wanted to see it. The premise of it was two parallel realities with this young man. In one reality, he was an architect, but in another reality, he was a drug dealer. He had a drug organization. And it was interesting because the single moment that split the realities was was a child, he had just getting started in the drug game. Now, in one reality, he was caught by the police and everything, and, he was taken to jail, juvie. Yet in the other reality, he actually got away. Now, ironically, in the reality in which he got away, he became a drug dealer. In the reality, he went through the juvenile system, he became an architect. And I was looking at that, and then the most interesting thing was not only was his life different, but then his very character was different. You know, there's always been arguments about nature versus nurture. You know, if somebody is born a certain way, that's always a big argument, especially with people with racist ideas. Like, people are just born that way. They don't look at the culture or anything. But yet, in this, one of the things I liked about the film, his personality was literally different. Even how he spoke, how he carried himself. Like, as a drug dealer, he was a drug dealer. He was mean. He would confront people. His voice was even deeper in how he spoke. He was more forceful. As an architect, he was all right, but he had that same level of strength. He would develop it, but not on the same level. Everything, how he walked and everything. It was very subtle. I don't know. A lot of people may not pick up on it, but it was even their body language was different. When he played it was a great acting job because as a drug dealer, he had a certain walk, a certain body language. As the architect, it was different. And one of the interesting things in the movie was that not only was his life changed, it was several other lives changed. Like, there was a character played by, what was his name? Jesse Metcalf. Now, in the reality where he was taken to juvie, the character, as he was arrested, he had ran in front of a car, and the car swerved, and I believe it killed Jesse Metcalf's mother as a child. I believe it did. I'm not sure. They didn't really go into it, but it showed that she was hurt by it. In that reality, he got into architecture too, and him and Corey, his name, in the architectural world, his name was Rashid, and he had become an architect too. They were actually working on the same project, not quite the same place, but working on the same project. And that was a deep story. But then in the other reality, instead of crashing, they, as the younger Sheed was running away, and I forgot Jesse Metcalf's name in there, but he was watching him run away. In that reality, he became a cop. Even his facial hair was different. It was still a difference. It was like in the drug dealer reality, Jesse Metcalf, he had a beard. He had a light beard, and he had a rougher edge to him, whereas in the architect reality, he ain't come off as stronger. He ain't come off as rough. And interestingly, other characters in there, because there was Now, I should have. I'm watching this movie. I'm not even halfway paying attention to the character's name. Like the right hand man for Sheed, the drug dealer, he was a rough character. But then in the architectural universe, in Rashid's universe, he was an upstanding accountant and everything. In fact, he in the drug dealing universe, the same character counted the money. He was good at that. He still had a rough character though. Still had a roughness and, like I said, cursing and everything. And there was a lot of change, a lot of difference. Like all the characters were different, and all of that stemmed from one moment. And I've thought about what I said. A single choice could change things, but a single moment can change things. We don't know how many things would have been different on this planet if maybe something different happened in their lives. And then you don't know how often something we do might change something else. I use myself for an example. Now, I'm not going to talk about who I've touched or whatever, but we might not be listening to this if it wasn't for me reading a book by a former government worker back in 1992. Because that put me on the path of writing. Because I said, I was looking at it, I was like, I can do better than this. I hate to say it like that. But it was a single moment. You never know. You never know how you making a light could change not just your life, but the life of others. You making a light or you being stopped at that light. You don't know what an accident can do. You don't know just deciding to go on a date. In fact, let me use a powerful example from my own life, because I had to think about it's interesting. And I don't know what the changes would have been, but there was a night where I called, I was over chilling at my spot. I called two different women at the same time, and I was going to see which one's going to respond. Now, I responded to one. Now, one responded quicker than the other one. And we, the one who responded, we ended up being in a relationship. And I'm going to be real. Yeah, we broke up, but she was very supportive in my writing career. Very supportive. Now, the other one I didn't call, well, ironically, we would hook up a few years later. We would have sex a few years later, but I don't know if she would have been as supportive. Now, what if in that moment, the one who wouldn't have been as supportive would have been the one to answer the call, call back first. I put it like that. It literally came down to that. And I think about that sometimes. And now I had already started writing, but at the time, I didn't have a lot of support from women. I really didn't. What if I dealt with this one, but this one's like, nah, you can't do that or whatever. Why don't you do something else? You never know. You never know. Like, you ever think about you just at a moment, in some spiritual traditions, they might call it being at the crossroads. Indeed, I talk about crossroads in my book, Sexual Chemistry. Even though it's ostensibly about a man developing himself, that's still a real thing. And like I said, some spiritual traditions have that thing about the crossroads. Like, we all come to it. And the choice you make there can affect your path. But what if that path touches other people? You just never know. You never know. Like I said, you never know how big an impact you have. We don't know what changes we might have in this world if people just simply made a different decision. Indeed, those who are more on a metaphysical path, and ironically, those who are on a more scientific path, talk about parallel universes, parallel worlds. There's always a choice. Indeed, in some spiritual traditions, there's a belief that when we go to the other side, we actually do a review of our lives. And we're told how our choices that we made affected other people and how choices that we didn't make, or because we didn't make a particular choice to go down a certain path, prevented somebody else from doing something. One of the things people have to realize on this planet, like it or not, everybody's interconnected. Every single person's interconnected. A choice made by somebody in Japan could impact someone, in Toronto. because everything touches everything. You never know. You never know. So, and you never really think of it. People don't think about it. In fact, I'm gonna get more into it in the next episode. But check it out. I'm gonna tell you what, Destin it was actually a more thinking type of movie. You know, it wasn't one of those like crazy, exciting, all of that. But you be looking at it because one of the things in the story, it was like they were both going along at the same time, like same moment, but in parallel universes. It was very deep. So anyway, check it out if you can. Anyway, I get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.